Welcome to the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, please follow, hit the like button, or any subscribes. It really helps us with the algorithms. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is produced by the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. All opinions are those of the speakers. We invite you to join us on the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF for more fun. Now, let's get on with this installment of Santa Cruz Coffee Break. We would like to welcome everybody to the 78th edition of the Santa Cruz Guitar Players podcast. Today we're really honored to have Alex King, a pretty young, hot player out of Nashville with his band called Sickert Holla.
Thank you.
You can correct my pronunciation on that, but welcome in, Alex.
You nailed it. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, it's a good hookup. A good thank you to Josh at Santa Cruz for setting this up with us too. We have certainly gone a lot of different directions in the past 4 podcasts. One from a guitar school, one from Joe Glazer, one from Lloyd Baggs. And now we're back on the music side of things. So,
which is nice.
Tell us a little bit about what you have going on.
So I'm just in Nashville right now. We literally just got off the road. We were on the road with the Hot Buttered Rum guys. I think you guys are familiar with them. We just did Brooklyn Bowl in New York. We did a festival in Massachusetts. We did Zen Barn in Vermont, right outside of Burlington. And then we split ways and we just finished off at Sterling Stage Folk Fest in Sterling, New York. We headlined that one. And now we got a couple days back home before I hit the road to Charleston, South Carolina in 2 days. We're going up there to play at the Poorhouse. So, yeah, I've just been hanging out, enjoying the nice weather here in Nashville before it gets insanely hot, which it's already getting there, but just taking it easy for a couple of days before we get back out on the old dusty trail.
Excellent. Hey, Alex, we're only seeing half your face, and we will be putting this out on YouTube.
Is that good?
That's better.
I like the background. It was good. No,
in my screen it had me right in the middle. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Am I good now?
You're good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get started playing guitar? Where did you grow up? What were your influences? Sandwich.
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of an interesting story, especially how I ended up playing bluegrass. What we do is, you could call it bluegrass. You could also nitpick and say that it's progressive string band music, whatever you want to do. A lot of it incorporates a boom chuck rhythm, so it has the grassy elements. But I grew up down the road in Birmingham, Alabama, 3 hours down the road from Nashville, straight shot down 65. My mom was from around here, so I got family in town. I grew up coming up here just to visit, but did not grow up on bluegrass. Nobody in my family listened to bluegrass whatsoever. I grew up on punk, I'd say. I had a stack of CDs, and what grabbed my attention early on was Green Day, so I kind of went that route with the whole pop punk thing. And then by high school I was into kind of some folky stuff, which I think influenced my songwriting a lot, but I was into skateboarding and all my friends were listening to hip hop and metal, so I was kind of like a closet folk listener. And I would sing in my car driving home and didn't tell any, I was that wasn't a dream of mine at all. At the time, I just didn't really know that I wanted to do that. But that's kind of where my songwriting influence, and I'd say the why I lean more towards acoustic guitar than electric. I love the punk stuff, but I could never get that right hand chug, which I guess will lead into, I started playing guitar when I was 14 or 15 on the acoustic, switched to electric. My dad had a Stratocaster, and I liked it. My parents were like, you're good at, you have something here, but it just wasn't something that I guess you have to like choose it yourself. And they weren't like pushing it on me, but it wasn't like I was racing home to go and sit in my room and practice tunes for like 5 hours a day. Like some of these kids you see, they're shredding since they were 13 years old or whatever. It wasn't really my journey with the instrument. So I put it down for quite a while. Reintroduced it into my life when I was like 21, and really all I could do was like G, like first position church chords, G, C, D, E minor. Could barely get the F, not like in a good transition, but I had like 5 or 6 chords, and this was like 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And that's when found myself in Nashville. I went back to school and went to school at Belmont, which I'm actually like a stone's throw away from Belmont University right now. And that's where I met the band. Well, I didn't know they were the band at the time, but I mean, I showed up to Belmont and all these kids are there for like commercial guitar major, commercial keyboard, piano majors, and everybody's trying to jam. And these kids were good. I'd never seen anything like it in my entire life. Here's me. And I wasn't trying to do the music thing, but I'd pick up the guitar and play, and then these kids are just shredding, and I'm like, could barely hold down a groove on 1-4-5 progression in G. So it's like I've come quite a long way, but that's kind of how the more or less kind of what led me to Nashville to find the band. But there was a lot of things in between that. But it started with kind of folky stuff, and then ended up getting into flat picking somehow. I think probably by way of like Olden in the Way, maybe, because I went down the Fish route, saw a lot of Fish, and I was kind of planning on just doing that, was touring Fish, not playing music, and just partying and going show to show because it was exhilarating, and that was like what was inspiring to me. And eventually it was like, all right, man, like if you want to do this the rest of your life, you end up like not burn out, but there's a lot of people who are on the road that might embody the term burnout. You see quite a bit of them at Fish shows, and I'm like, maybe I should put the same energy I'm putting in towards seeing these guys play. Maybe if I put that into picking on the guitar, I could do something with it. So lo and behold, here we are.
My best friend was their agent for
Fish.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I went to a few. I went to a few shows with him and stuff like that. And yeah, I could see where it might be time to have left. That path at a period of time. I mean, Trey's an amazing guitar player.
Oh golly! And
holy cow!
Speak about amazing instruments. I've had a couple chances to play on guitars made by Paul Languedoc, is what Trey plays, and like some guy in Nashville has one. I mean, those guitars go for, I think, the cheapest one you'd find if you buy them new. I want to say they're 20,000 plus.
Yeah.
But talk about a cool moment. We record here in town at not all the time, but at Zach Brown's studio. He has a studio called Southern Ground, and our original banjo player, his name's Dan Davis. He just records records. That was kind of our thing. Like when we started the band, we started getting a little busy, and it was like, hey, we're going to hit the road. What do you want to do? And it was an obvious choice. He's such a great audio engineer. He was like, I'm here to make records. But point being, we're at Southern Ground one night. He knows how big of a Fish head I am. And I had never seen or held a Languedoc in my entire life. And we get done tracking some stuff. This is probably for our first album, Secret of the Breeze. So this is probably in 2020. He's like, hey, let's go up to the gun safe room, which none of the safes have guns in them. They all just have vintage instruments, so
and microphones.
He's like, right. He starts pulling out different cases, and it's like kid in a candy shop, but it's like a surprise. You don't know what's going to be in the case. So he pulls out a Languedoc, and it was amazing. We get to pick on it. And he pulled out a Lloyd Loar mandolin that probably was worth 6 figures. I didn't even touch it. I'm like, nope. I'm good on that one. We let our mandolin player, he picked on it a little bit, but I'm like, yeah, will not touch that one. A couple other really nice Gibsons. I'm not too well versed in all the gear talk, but yeah, those guitars are incredible. It's just cool living in Nashville, especially once you kind of start poking around in the scene and you start meeting some people that have these little ins, you every once in a while you get shown a little treasure chest somewhere, and it's a reminder of who you're surrounded by in this town. The history and the depth of Nashville is so crazy. Feel fortunate to be here and to have some friends that can show us some cool stuff every once in a while.
Well, it's amazing how an instrument can actually be inspirational, picking up a great guitar. Yeah, it can.
Well, speaking of which,
yes.
I bought this Santa Cruz recently. It's my first one. We were just talking about it before we got going, but I'll talk about it a little bit. I hadn't written a bluegrass song in a while. And I was playing on my Bourgeois. It's like a D18 and I love it and it's great. And I needed to get rid of one of them. I had that slope shoulder, so I put it on consignment at Carter. And I'm a big Tony Rice guy, so like either I'm gonna look for a Deep Martin D28 or I'm looking for a Santa Cruz. And they had a couple different Santa Cruzes in there, and I ended up walking out. It's a Model D, 2002 Model D, Indian Rosewood and Adirondack Spruce. And it just spoke to me. And I played on a couple different Tony models. There was like a 94 Tony model that was probably like $2,000 more. And there was one other one, and they're all so incredible. But I landed on this beautiful guitar. Actually, he's right here. I love him so much. And I wrote a bluegrass song called Long Winding Road, and like I write a ton. And whether I finish the song or not, like I'm still probably writing every single day. And it had been a while since I had just felt that. I was like, something's happening. And I just drank my coffee in the morning. I sit down at the desk, and I wrote the song in a day, and we've been playing it on the road. I mean, shit, we played it 2 nights ago. And that is a testament to what you just said, like just by strumming a chord on that guitar and flat picking it, I was like, wow, I just got obsessed with it. I couldn't put it down. And then the song writes itself at that point, which I needed that. I know that feeling so well because it's happened a lot in my life. And when you go a little bit of time without having that, I call it like the golden hour of thought, whenever that is, that's like whenever my brain is like pinned to the paper, like something magical is happening and I can recognize it in my heart and my soul. Like I know something good's happening. That happened with this guitar, which the guitar's name is Crackerjack. That's old Crackerjack back there. But yeah, I hope to have many more experiences with Crackerjack in the future writing. But my inspiration has just been through the roof since I got to Santa Cruz. So it's been a cool journey thus far.
Well, a good guitar definitely can help inspire one, but I, for one, can attest to the fact that just having a great guitar does not necessarily let you write great songs.
Right. Yeah.
There's a fair bit of player influence in that, which clearly you have. So
that's funny.
I think a lot of that is what you just said too. It's paying attention to the muse when it hits, and pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's your loss.
I agree,
because it doesn't visit every day and it doesn't visit all the time, and it's a strange and wondrous thing when it happens. But boy,
yeah, it is interesting because I feel like some people have this thing where they're like practicing songwriting, or it's like an exercises, like daily things. Like if you sit down, just do, kind of throwing shit at the wall. Everybody's like, oh, you write 100 songs, maybe you keep blah, 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 however many. It's kind of like that for me, but it's not. Like there'll just be this conscious stream when some line will come into my head, whether I know the meaning of it or not. And then I'll just follow that down the rabbit hole. And it's like, I can't force that whatsoever. So it's like, it's kind of like these songs write themselves in a weird way. They piece themselves together like puzzles. I can have like an idea, which I do sometimes, like, and I'll be like, here's what I want to write about, kind of like a prompt or whatever. And maybe that was inspired by a line that came to my head, or by somehow I wrote a chorus and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm trying to write about. It's like hard for me to force that, even begin to practice that, because I just feel like it's like writer's block or something. But it's when I just pick up, especially when I just kind of let the day happen and I drink my coffee in the morning and I pick up the guitar. That's my every single morning. I'm pretty much up at like 7:30. I'm at my desk by 8 playing. And whether the day consists of a song or I work on a fiddle tune all day or whatever it is, as long as I'm progressing through the day, like that gets me off. But I've been trying recently to like write in the mornings and it's been working out. But to the point, what I'm saying is there's a long time where it wasn't, where I'd sit down and I'm like, I ain't got anything. So people are like, well, just write. Well, I'm like, what do I write about? I'm not just going to start writing random stuff. So it's like, I don't understand those, like how to practice or like how to work those muscles when it's happening. Like you said, pay attention to it. I know that feeling so well, and I will hound it out like 6 hours straight if it's happening. But when it's gone, or when that switch turns off, I don't exactly know how to say what does that. Or maybe it's just an hourglass, and when the time's up, the time's up. It's an interesting thing. So whenever it's happening frequently, I love it. But I can't force it all the time. So
my friend Bruce would say that you're visited by the spirit of Duende. And when she visits, you dance with her, and that is when the magic happens.
That's beautiful. So yeah, I've experienced that many, many times. I wouldn't have said it like that, but I 100%. I can identify with that completely. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I don't know. It's like, it started happening to me when I was like 21. I didn't really write before then. I got sober for a little while. Just cleaned up my act a little bit when I was a bit younger, and that's kind of when guitar got reintroduced into my life. And I was living in Louisiana in a sober living spot. And there were some kids in there that were playing, and it kind of inspired me to get the guitar again. And I would pick to like Working Man's Dead, or like I would buy Fish records or something and like pick to those. And I had never experienced the songwriting, being a vessel, whatever. I'd nothing. I'm just like picking to these Dead records and getting into that. And there was this kid there, and he had some original songs, and I'm just like, it blew me away. Like, I don't even remember what they were about. I don't even know if they were good or not. It was just like all these other guys who were in this program, this treatment facility, we'd all hang out and smoke cigarettes and listen to him play, just because it was like, that's what somebody was performing, or had art, or creating art in front of our face. And like, it just gave me this whole different viewpoint on songwriting, but it had never happened to me before. I say that never happened. I'd never tried because I didn't know to try or how to try. And when I got to Nashville, I had this night where I just couldn't go to sleep. And like, I picked up the guitar, and next thing you know, like 4 hours later, I had started writing this thing, what's funny about this one, it's a song of ours called To Be Free. And it'll actually it'll come out. We recorded it recently. I don't know when it's going to come out, but the verse that I wrote, I didn't even know what I was writing about. It was the second verse of the song, and the whole song's a story. And I pieced it together unintentionally. Second verse, first verse, third verse, and I think I put a bridge in there. And by the end of the song, I was like, whoa, because I didn't know it was going to make sense. I'm just like, you're not writing about anything. And this whole journey, so it's a cool tune, and it blew my mind. And that was my first experience with that feeling, with dancing with, I don't know the name that you said, but when she comes danced, and I was like, man, we were tangoing for sure. So it's like, it's
so cool now. So how do you write music? You say you sit down at your desk, which I find surprising, but with your guitar. And I mean, how do you write stuff down? A lot of people these days are using electronic things to do stuff. Some people are like Post-it notes and pencils. Do you have a process?
That's like, oh, I got
Post-it notes. There we go.
Literally like everywhere, you know. I'm like so unorganized, and also I don't like. I'm trying to like figure this out. So you were saying it's surprising that I sit at the desk. Well, for 3 years I lived like 5 minutes from the Harpeth River, and like every day I'd write by the river. You could go back on my Instagram, or there was an Instagram before the one. Mine right now is Alex King Music, and there was another one before that, but I had to long story short, I just had 2 Instagrams. So there's one of my music pages that's like my whole journey of flat picking pretty much. And there's a million videos of me sitting by the river picking. I wrote like so many songs by the river. I just don't live as close to one now. And now it's like it's so hot outside, and it's interesting. It's a whole thing to get out there. I need to go ride outside more. I need to get back to that, because like I think that was like a ethos of my writing or something for a while. There was these like nature inspired songs that kind of highlighted life things. But that's just in a nutshell. But kind of how I write, it's interesting. So recently, because I've been getting better at flat picking, now I'm like, I'm a lead guitar player. At the beginning of the band, I just didn't have that confidence, nor could I even play a G run or whatever, you know. And I've come, you know, so far. Now I can back my picking, and I can tear it up now on a good day. Now I'm kind of taking riffs and making these more complex things, because I want to write more than here's my lyrics and I'm going to pick 4 to 6 chords in this key, and here's the beginning, and then I'm going to throw a bridge in there, probably use a minor, relative minor, and then resolve it, and then, you know, tag it on the end. Now I'm kind of trying to be like, which is a great way to write. A lot of that's for those types of songs. I'm like, if the lyrics and the message is there, then I believe that like you could play a 2-chord song. You don't need the complexity if the message is there. It could serve the song well, but that wasn't necessarily my intention with the writing at the beginning. And again, like I said, my skill set just wasn't. I was introducing myself into bluegrass by starting a band and learning how to play it, you know, like we weren't proficient at it at all. So now my process is more like I record it into my phone. I'm old, like I need to get a studio set up. Actually, have been watching YouTube videos on simple recording setups for at home with an interface, and just run it through Logic or something like that, and get a couple microphones and just have a couple nice mics. But for me, I pull out my notes, lyrics, get in my notes, or I'll write them down on a sheet of paper. For riffs and for melody ideas, if I'm picking somewhere and I think of something, I pull out my phone just and record it into the phone. And it might just be me singing random words, whatever, in a melody, just to capture that. Like, that might not be how I use it at all, but I can hear kind of like how I would enunciate everything or whatever. I can hear like the syncopation, I guess, or the cadence in the vocals, and then I can kind of like go back on my notes and piece everything together. It might not be the most, I don't know how to say that. It works for me, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great way to do it. I mean, if I had bothered to stop and write down or record all the brilliant things that have occurred to me in the middle of the night, and I would consistently say, nah, I'll remember it in the morning, I'm going back to sleep.
Right.
Yes. But, you know, as it is now, those ideas are all gone.
It just happened to me. I was working out the other day at the gym, and I go to the YMCA. I love it. That's like a huge thing for me now too, is like for road life and stuff, like maintain health, whatever it is. Like if I break a sweat once a day, my mental health is like, it is night and day. So I got really into cardio and going to this, I run or bike to the gym. I hit the steam room or the sauna, and then I bike back home. And the other day I was in the middle of working out at the gym, and this line was going, I've been writing this song called Heavy Shoulders. It's like a kind of a finger picky song about the angel and the devil on your shoulder. And it's this cool, very lyrically based folky song. And I've been chipping away at it, and I had this line in my head, and I had to immediately drop everything. And I ran to the locker room because my phone was in my backpack. And I was like playing it in my head, you know, and I'm in the locker room and it screwed up my flow of my workout. But I got that line and I'm like, you got to grab it when they're there because otherwise, you know, I'd be gone with the wind.
Yep.
Yeah,
And who knows, maybe that song will be one of the best songs I've ever written when I'm done with it, you know, so either way. Yeah.
Tad knows this, but personal reference on that. I've been working. I made a film. Took about 10 years,
Okay.
and went through about 40 titles.
Right.
Just I've got notebooks full of titles.
Right.
You know, notebooks. And I was snorkeling at Turtle Bay in Hawaii. We were shooting on the North Shore, and I'm staying at Turtle Bay, and I was snorkeling, and I'm down about 10 feet, and the name of the movie came to me. And I went shooting for the surface, and I'm paddling as fast as I can to get back. You know, and I'm running through this really nice lobby, soaking wet, going, I gotta remember, you know, gotta get to my room, It happens.
That's
you know?
cool.
It
Can
happens.
I watch your movie anywhere? Is it out?
You can. You can. I'll tell you about it. Addicted to Joy movie.
Okay.
Started out to be about something entirely differently than it ended up.
I love that. It's like my songwriting too. I feel you, man.
Yeah. The thing I learned is don't plan. It's got its own life, and just try to be the curator or the caretaker of it. And if it needs something, feed it, and if it doesn't, let it grow.
I love that.
Crazy.
That's a beautiful sentiment.
Crazy.
So how does this work with the band? When you write a new song or you have a new idea, you take it to the band, or do other members of your band write stuff as well, or how do you put it together?
Yeah, so it kind of depends, and there's different examples of each of those situations. So our fiddle player, he doesn't write lyrics. He might start, but this is not his thing. He writes a lot of the melodies. So in our earlier,
he's a hell of a fiddle player.
He's great. He's very, very good. I mean, that was kind of like the ground we had to stand on when we first started the band, because as I said, I could not flat pick. We had another lead guitar player who wasn't really into flat picking, but he was a damn good guitar player, really into Jerry type stuff and just dead type playing. So he could navigate the solo sections, not in like the way that you would think of bluegrass playing, but still great guitar playing. And then I could write a song because that's what we figured out. People like listening, and they had expressed that they connected with the music, you know? So it's like we had my songs. I could barely even play the rhythm to these tunes, and Matt could shred on that fiddle. So it was like, you know, maybe botch our way through the song to the fiddle solo and make sure he can smack that fiddle solo, and everybody, you know? So it's like that kind of nurtured our fan base there for a little while, you know. They're like, these guys kind of suck, but the songs are all right, and that dude can really tear up that fiddle. So he would write these melodies. So I'd bring a song, which, like I said earlier, would be just like I couldn't make any riffs or any melodies because I just couldn't flat pick like that. So I would write the songs, play the chords, and within pretty much the first try he could just play a melody in the key and it would stick. It was like, damn, that's it. Like that's probably it. And for a long time there, it was just first try. He's like, play the song. I play him a little bit of the song, and immediately he'd already have something down for it. So some of those early motifs in our first record, these like melodic lines that are very much a staple of the song that people know the song by, he would write that. So the whole song would be done. Now our mandolin player writes lyrics and will write music, and he's been most of our catalog is made up by songs that I've written, but Will has a good bit, and he just wrote a really, really incredible song. And I'll get to this, but how we work out songs together has changed a little bit now that everybody has come so far in their instruments. Our bass player doesn't write lyrically, but he's such a theoretical guy, and he's a slap player too. He plays electric bass in the band. He'll write, again, jam sections. If we have this song and we want to completely change it and open it up, maybe the instruments will drop out and we'll let Parrish introduce a new bass groove, and then we'll jam on that and improv and all that stuff. But mainly for lyrics and for the whole song structure, it's me primarily, and then Will. But I'll just bring it to the band. I'm a firm believer in, like, we can all collaborate on it, but if I've like as how we've been doing it so far, like if a song's pretty much done in my eyes, it's always open for interpretation. But I'm like, here is like, go learn this. Like, I'm gonna send you an audio track, and if you just listen to it, internalize it. If you have anything that sticks out, let me know. If you want to change anything, let me know. Or if you just don't like it, let me know, because I can take that. Like, we're all a unit, and if just because I wrote something doesn't mean all the other guys want to play it or they have to play it. But I would need to be told that. So it's about just communicating. And once they get it a little bit under their belt, I'll write out a chart for it or something. And then I'm like, let's get together and jam it. And then from there, you can really start seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. If people are getting frustrated with it while we're playing it, maybe there's a part, like, just with learning it, or it's not sticking, there's maybe some patience needs to be involved. But it's like, it's a whole process now. And it's always open for interpretation, but I would like to talk through it. If we want to change something, I want everybody to come at me with, like, intention, and having had listened to it and messed around with it and put in the same intention that I put in writing it, then I have no issue changing things. And actually, I would prefer that. I don't want to just bring a song to the table and then we play it and then all the guys are just like, whatever. I'm like, what? Say something. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What? I need something from, because we're gonna play this song on the road, or we're gonna play this in front of 1,000 people in a week, or whatever it may be. It's like, I just want to make sure everybody backs the tunes that we're playing, because I think it takes that to really deliver the song. So yeah, to answer the long story short, it's a little bit of writing from everybody, but I handle most of anything that I sing. I wrote the lyrics. Typically, I don't think there would ever be a case where I would write lyrics and feel that somebody else should sing them, unless it was like a girl maybe coming in and maybe a song that required two different perspectives. I could see me tossing off the vocals to somebody, but we got a cool little groove going with how we're doing it, and we've been introducing a lot of new songs or a lot of new original songs recently, which has been super exciting. So I'm pleased with how it's going.
Great to talk to you in 2 years.
Yeah.
Be really fascinating, because first of all, you would have never made it in an 80s hair band in LA.
Right.
Because you had to just be like this.
Right.
But I think that's it. It's interesting, as we talk to younger players, how they develop as a band versus, I mean, the Scruggs thing and all that stuff. I mean, you were the banjo player or you were the guitar player, and that was it. You stayed in your lane. You didn't what do you mean and introduce a song, I mean, not happening. So
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, it's also interesting to hear the influences that you have and the people that have influenced your music. When you say Green Day, I think of the guys that used to be walking down College Avenue to the burrito shop, where I live. And when you talk about Fish, I met Trey, I don't know, 20-something years ago, because he was a friend of somebody that I worked with, and he was just coming through the shop, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is my friend Trey, plays guitar," and
That's so cool. That's crazy.
It's weird, so
Yeah, well, the influences was such a weird thing to I get obsessed with bands, and that's been like a theme of my whole life. Like, there's been eras of my life where I just like obsess over a type of music, and the most recent one, and it's actually been kind of nice because I've settled down and now I'm a melting pot of everything. I literally, if you were to look at my Spotify or my history of music, it's so all over the place, which I love. There's a genre for every situation, but I hit the bluegrass so hard. I got so obsessed with it, and like Tony Rice just like lit a fire in me. I mean, I swear I spent a year just nothing but Tony. And then now it's super cool because it's like as I developed, it's kind of like Tony's, it's kind of how Tony went. And like now I'm getting in as my playing has developed, I'm like starting to look more into like the jazzy side of things with like the Grisman quintet and all that type of stuff, the Western swing type stuff, and all these when Tony studied chord theory and started getting all these insane substitutions, and when his playing, I mean, he was already into that, but when like slowly with JD Crow, but when with Grisman, it was just like he got taken to school, and it's like so cool because I'm like starting out with the basics and like really hammering down the traditional stuff, and then I moved to Tony, which he has all his records where he has his swing spin on the traditional stuff, which I still consider very traditional, and then to this Grisman quintet, which is like Chick Corea covers, and they went crazy. You can't even make up the stuff that these guys were doing, and it just the level of I dream of playing like that. So it's like super cool to see the progression through it all, and to kind of see how my ears being taken in kind of similar directions. Because now I'm like super into Jerry Reed and through Tony, and it's just like the finger style stuff and all this. It's just opening up all these doors where it's the guitar journey is just never ending, which is so exciting to me. But it's like, damn, there ain't enough hours in the day to practice,
Well, and it's exciting to old guys like me because there was a period of time where I was personally afraid that music was going to be taken over by loopers and keyboards and vocal processors. And
Right.
to start hearing, more music, there's so many young artists like you, guitar players, songwriters who are doing good music.
Right.
And it's encouraging to hear that. And it's also encouraging to know that you're referring back to more and more of the sources.
You have to.
When I was young, the sources were, you go back to old Lomax recordings, and that was all that you had, and most of those were pretty bad. Right. Now you've got so much to draw on, and it's so accessible.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps people like you and other people, just grow as musicians so much more quickly.
Yeah, and the bluegrass. I mean, now the grass scene is just thriving so much with Billy just blowing the doors off the whole thing. And what's amazing about what Billy's doing is, like you said, it's like Billy's like, I learned this from my dad and from Doc Watson. So here you go. I'm going to school all of you people on where this comes from. I'll play it to you cut and dry, no improvisation, as good as you can pretty much play it. And then I can take that same Doc Watson song and go on a 30-minute psychedelic jam if I want to. And it's like, it's so cool. And the way that he can do that is because he cut his teeth on it. He paid homage. He studied. And it's like, you can't just pioneer this genre without having it be a part of you and like lived it. And that's what I think is so cool about him. It's like, he's so proficient in it at its like roots, and then to all the new, he can get crazy psychedelic and add all the effects and go like a rock star up there, but he can also play you the traditional bluegrass about as good as anybody can do it with all the harmonies, and his band's so incredible. So it's like, I mean, I just saw him in Colorado, and I keep on saying this to my friends. I'm like, it was the most inspiring and discouraging display of music I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm just like, what? Like, okay, got to go home and practice, but it's awesome because he's really pushing kids to pick up these instruments at such an early age. And that's what he did. And look at him, it's like, put these instruments in these kids' hands early on if they want them, because the result is just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Well,
I never saw him coming.
yeah.
You really didn't see it at all. It was just,
He's
and
insane.
all of a sudden it was like, huh?
And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is like, say what you will about it, go see him play and tell me your jaw's not on the floor for
Yeah,
3 hours straight. Like,
yeah. Just
yeah, it's incredible, man. But it's
unbelievable.
really helping us out too. It's turning all these people onto this type of music, and now people want to show up and hear string bands play. And
Yep.
I think more so than some other genres right now. It's cool. It's cool to listen to bluegrass and the flat pick right now, and to get into it now. Now it's so funny now. My girlfriend's friends, I'll hop in their car, and instead of Taylor Swift, it's Doc Watson now, and I'm like, oh, okay. You know who this is?
Yeah. Nothing against Swifties, but
it's so funny now. But it's refreshing. It's like, yes,
yeah.
it's like, let's bring back that good stuff, because you can't really, that people don't make it like that anymore. Or there was a point like where you were saying where it was, and it's still switching to that, but it's like the resurgence of all this old timey music it's so refreshing, and it's just cool. It's cool to be a part of it.
I've only seen Billy on YouTube videos. I've never had a chance to see him live. The first time I saw Molly Tuttle at a Fretboard Journal Summit, and she played there, I was completely blown away. So I've been following her. And then most recently, we just had Bottle Rock up in Napa End, and the closing artist was Ed Sheeran.
Really?
And to see Ed on the stage with his little guitar,
in
front of this immense crowd, it was wonderful. It was
I believe
great.
it. Yeah, he's awesome. Molly's amazing. I just listened to her. She just put out an interview with a guy named Andy Frasco yesterday, actually, yesterday it came out. I just listened to that, and she talks about her whole upbringing, and she lives in Nashville. I know her band. I'm buddies with her banjo player, Kyle. But she's golly. Yeah, Kyle played on our last record, but talk about inspiring. She'd light me up on the guitar, and she'll do the claw hammer on it too. She's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, and her brother Sully plays an AJ Lee in the Blue Summit. They are just next level. So yeah, bluegrass is in amazing hands right now. There's a lot of people really doing it right.
It's really interesting because I saw Doc Watson when I was 14.
Wow.
4 feet from him.
Right.
And it changed my life for sure. But we kind of lost our way on that in the 80s and that kind of thing. And it kind of got all techno and got all kind of weird. And it's so great. And it's something that we see from guitar builders. We are truly in the golden age of guitars.
Yeah.
You can walk into Carter or wherever, and you can play 15 astounding new current instruments.
Yeah.
And to have that, and some of them don't cost a lot of money.
You're right.
As opposed to when we were kids and you could go into a music store and play 15 guitars and hope one of them was decent enough to even consider buying.
Yeah. If the strings didn't, shred your
slice
hands
your fingers
in the first minute, and it's so great because it's making music accessible to so many more people, and music makes people different, and it changes the world. And boy, it's songs can change the world.
I agree. I think many people have messaged me telling me stories about how my lyrics and my writing has absolutely affected their lives in a positive way. And it's beyond me. It's wild. So I can attest to that. I know that factually.
You have
it's cool. It keeps you doing it. It's like, all right, well, I think I've said this somewhere else, but it's like if I affected one person positively, it's like mission success. You know,
Yep.
that makes it worth it for me.
Somebody said something to me about this film, and I said, what makes it a success? And this is the guy that went through Endless Summer with those guys and was part of it, you know.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I said, what makes it a success? And he said, somebody leaves with a smile.
Yeah.
You know, we
Agree.
have no idea the work we do, how it affects somebody in. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We just we do the work, you know, and that's what we do. Okay, so there is some confusion in trying to find you on the internet.
Okay.
How do we link people to you?
To the band?
Yeah.
Okay, so the best way to get Instagram is Sickard Hollow Band.
Spell
Facebook, SICARDHOLLOW band BAND. That's our Instagram page. That's where you're probably going to find most information. That in our Facebook, and on Facebook, just type in Sickard Hollow, SICARD space Hollow.
Yeah.
And then our website is just www.sickardhollow.com, which is funny. If you used to Google it, it would pull up the sports complex, which was again behind the house I grew up at, where they have lacrosse fields and soccer fields, and would pull up the Sickard Hollow athletic complex. But we since then have surpassed them on Google. So if you type in Sickard Hollow on Google, we should be the first one that comes up, and we have the website domain. So all our tour dates are on there. Music you can find on Apple Music, Spotify. YouTube has some stuff, full show. We have a couple different full live shows on YouTube, and probably a bunch of random fan shot videos are on there too. And the last thing I'll mention is a Facebook page called Sickard Fam, SICARD space Fam, FAM, and that's our fan page with just a great community of really, really close friends of ours on there. Anybody we've met along the way that likes to be in the loop with things going on in our community. Well, but yeah, that would be the best way to find us.
That's great.
Well, luckily, by spelling that out, everybody who is only listening to this podcast can now pull over safely and type it in so that they can bookmark it. But we will, for everybody watching this on YouTube, Richard will make sure that we have all the links well spelled out and organized so that people can find them easily.
And we won't spell it phonetically. We will spell it properly. I won't spell it the way it should be said.
Right.
No one would find it. Alex, thanks so much for taking some time here today. We get out and go work up a sweat, but really special stuff. Really special.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to when you get out here to visit the mothership, so to speak, and hopefully play out here on the West Coast a little bit.
Yes, so I will say this. I think we have like 10 California shows this fall, so I'll definitely reach out to you guys. They haven't been. We're definitely coming out to California. I don't know if it's 10, but we're going to spend at least, I think, 2 weeks out in California, and I want to say October, but don't quote me on that. Checking if you're listening to this and you're interested in that, check in a little bit. We'll announce all that stuff. But I wanted to say thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so stoked to be a part of the Santa Cruz family. Literally, like you said, you own 20 of them. Well, you just wait, man, because I'm shooting for 30. It's so funny. I won't ramble too much, but I was just talking to my mandolin player, and I'm like, I know I just bought this guitar, but I already want another one. So it's like I got the bug. So yeah, thank you to the Santa Cruz family for everything you guys do. Just incredible craftsmanship and amazing inspirational instruments. And then I'll just mention a couple dates coming up if anybody's listening to this. We're playing at Charleston, South Carolina this Friday. June 5th, we're in Kansas City. June 6th, we're in St. Louis. June 13th through 15th, we're at the Weiser River Music Festival. That's in Idaho.
Yeah.
and that's with Yonder Mountain and a couple other great bands. And then the last one I'll mention is Blue Ox Music Festival in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and that's June 27th through 29th, and that's like a huge bluegrass festival with like tons of acts. So that's where you can catch us on the road. Thank you guys so much for everything. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys, and yeah, looking forward to meeting you guys in person maybe later this year.
Yeah,
That sounds
good.
great, Alex.
Have a great
Sweet.
afternoon. Thank
Yeah,
you very
All right,
much.
thank you
very
much.
Yeah,
Be
take
well.
care.
We hope you enjoyed this installment of the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. For more music-related fun, please join the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF or santacruzguitarplayers.com. If you have any questions or possible podcast topics, please contact us. If you have a product or service that you feel would be of value to our listeners, please consider adding your support and keeping the coffee pot on. Contact us for more information. We ask that you hit the like, follow, bell, or bookmark buttons so we can keep you informed of upcoming podcast episodes. We hope you enjoyed Santa Cruz Coffee Break. Now it's time to go play your guitar.